Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to talk about how guilt can affect your manifestation and how it can affect your business. So let me start with a question. Do you sometimes feel that something is holding you back from the next level money or the next level business, or you have this sensation that you are not worthy for something, you're not good enough? If the answer is yes, then probably you have suppressed or subconscious guilt going on in your subconscious mind, and this is blocking you from your next level. When we talk about guilt, so you can imagine it that something could have happened to you in your life that still has this subconscious guilt connected to it, but it does not necessarily have to be that way. It could be that you are receiving, you have this guilt coming from your ancestors, from father and mother. So that means if they were not able to process guilt, then this is passed on to you as well, and it will show up in your energy field. Let me give an example how it looks like when there is like a big event happening in your life. So I have a nice client, he's a Canadian guy, and he made a huge investment in his business. Unfortunately, it did not work out and he lost the money, and he created a huge debt where he needs to pay some money, and he lost money as well. That created a big impact on him where he has a big sense of guilt and regret, and he was not able to process it or come out of it. And since then, in the last 1 year, he was stuck in his business because he was not able to attract new money or new clients, because this guilt is sending you a message that you are bad, you don't deserve some good stuff, and it creates this energy of sabotage or sense of punishment. The good news is we were working with him and he since then released it, and how he has more success. But I just wanted to give an example of how it looks like when you have something like big happening in your life. But let me go a bit further here. So when I talk to people, to my clients, and I say, hey, I see some kind of guilt here, very often people would not notice it. They would say like, nah, Gabi, you're crazy. There is no guilt here going on. And consciously it might be true that in their conscious mind that there is no guilt. But guilt is a very heavy emotion, it's almost like something eating you up inside, and therefore we push it down, we suppress it. Very often all of us have it in some sense, but we are not connected to it. Therefore, one of the ways to release the guilt is, first of all, to notice it, connect with it, and let go of your field. Let me give you 3 signs how you can see that there is like guilt in your life that might be lingering in your subconscious mind. So sign number 1 is if you have some regrets going on. So think of an event, something that you have done or you haven't done in your life, and you have a sense of regret about it. So for example, in terms of relationship, I have a Hungarian client, and she told me that when her mother was passing away, she could not meet her, she could not say goodbye. Therefore, she has a huge sense of regret because she was missing it, she could not connect to her and say goodbye. So regret is a good sign that when you think about something you have done or haven't done, this means that there is like a bigger amount of guilt connected to it. The other sign that can talk about if you have guilt or not is just look into your life, and if you are overly apologizing for things, this can be also a sign that there is like some kind of guilt going on, and it creates a pressure, and therefore you need to like say sorry all the time for other people, almost to make up for the guilt. That could be a sign. And by the way, there is nothing wrong with an apology. Apology is an amazing sign of respect to other people. But of course, people can use it out of guilt because they need to like make up for something. There could be also another sign in terms of apologizing. It could be also that you are not able to apologize for people whatsoever, even if you know there is something you've done, not in the best way. So this way, there is still guilt in your subconscious mind, but you are denying it and you are saying, no, I'm not apologizing for anything. So that means you still have it, you have the guilt, but you are not able to look at it, and therefore you deny it. So apologizing or not apologizing is sign number 2. And sign number 3 is when you are feeling overly responsible for other people. This over responsibility can show up in two ways. Either it can be like an emotional over responsibility, where you enter a room, or maybe you are at home with your family and you feel like everybody needs to be happy, otherwise, it's my fault or I've done something wrong. But it can also show up in a way where you are overly doing or helping somebody. There's a difference between supporting somebody or overly helping somebody, where you are taking too much responsibility for other people. Both of them are about talking about guilt in the background, where you are almost like making up for this guilt with your actions, okay? The first step is working with guilt is notice those signs and then just be happy about it first, because at least you are able to catch this guilt that is suppressed in the subconscious mind. Then the second step is, what to do with it, right? And very often when we have this guilt coming up, people would react to it in two different ways. Some of my spiritual people, they understand that guilt is not very useful and it's not very helpful. And they would have this reaction of like, oh my God, guilt is bad. It's gonna ruin my manifestation. So Gabby, please delete it immediately. I can't have it. I can't have it even for a second, right? Very often this has the energy of fear behind it. They have this deep fear about guilt and they wanna get rid of it immediately. But this is also not very helpful, because you are not able to see guilt or connect with it, but you need to run away from it immediately. And therefore, again, you are afraid of it. And usually, if you are afraid of something, it means you are going to deny it and suppress it again, okay? So for those people who have this like fear coming up and they would say like delete immediately, I would just recommend to send the energy of acceptance. It's okay to feel guilt. It's okay that there is guilt in your system. Move from the place of acceptance into releasing it, because if you are afraid of it, you can't really release it yet. And then some other people, usually these people would be either, having some religious background, but not necessarily. And these people, when I talk about guilt and I would be saying to them, hey, I think we need to work with this guilt, they would be saying, Gabby, don't take away my guilt, because this is something very useful. First, I was a bit surprised when I heard this message that guilt is useful. But then, the logic behind it is that if somebody has guilt, it almost like means that they have this high sense of moralness, right? They have this like guilt is helping them to decide what to do or not to do. Maybe you want to cheat on somebody, but if you have this guilt is telling you, it sends you this bad feeling immediately and it tells you not to do it. So therefore, guilt is almost like an advisor, like an inner sense of like helper, right? And this is also a little bit bullshit, right? Because guilt is attracting guilt at the same time. So no matter whether you do something or not, at the end of the day, you will have guilt. And it's not the best advisor. So what I recommend for those people is that if you want to decide what's the best action in a certain situation, instead of guilt, why don't you use love? Like when you think about like to decide something in a situation, what would be the best decision in terms of like, how do I love myself more and how do I love the other person more? You can also use sense of consciousness or awareness. Consciousness and awareness is also very helpful, where you can simply just think about the situation and decide. Also, I like to give them another like aspect. Before deciding, just think about how it would feel if the other person would do the same thing to you. Would you like it or not? And if the answer is no, please don't do it, right? So for those people, I wanted to like just simply recommend using different tools in terms of deciding, and also let go of the attachment of guilt, because if you don't have guilt, some people would think that you become this narcissistic, crazy person. And it's not true. You can let go of the guilt. It's okay to let it go, and you can still be a good person making the best choices. Okay. The next step in terms of dealing with guilt is really understand what it does to you when you have it. So when guilt is in your system, it creates an energy where you take yourself to this virtual courtroom where you are the judge and you are the person who is guilty, right, of something. And then after this trial stuff, we all know what is happening, and the next step is usually punishment. So every time that there is this guilt coming up in your life, it means that you are attracting some sort of punishment or sabotage in your life. And very often you might not be even conscious about it, but it can be showing up in different ways. So one of my clients, for example, he wants to eat very healthy and he knows whatever works for him in terms of health. But very often, all of a sudden, he has this random idea of eating French fries and hamburgers, which is not bad, if it's good for you, but for him, it's not very helpful. And then whenever he comes to me, Gabby, he says, I don't know why am I eating French fries and all this crazy stuff, because I know it's not good for me, but for some reason, I'm just attracted to it. So when we worked with him, it turned out that he has a lot of guilt suppressed. And from this guilt, there is punishment and sabotage coming out. So he would be sabotaging his way of eating all the time without knowing what's going on. At the end of the day, guilt is actually, it's a very toxic energy to have. It's not helpful at all. But if you cannot label it negatively, but you don't want to attach it. And this is typically how we mess up with emotions, like with any negative emotion. So first of all, we don't know what to do with it. So we just put it back in the subconscious mind. And then at the same time, we are attaching to it because we don't know how to let it go. Neither of them is very useful because it's gonna create some negative energy in your field. The best way to deal with guilt is to simply, accept it, look at it, connect with it, and then choose to let it go with love and compassion. And then, of course, next time, choose not to have it when you go into the situation. In terms of how to do it exactly, there is another video I created, so I will put it in the link box, where you can look at it, how to let go step by step, how to clear this guilt energy, and this is very helpful for you. The overall message I wanted to give is, don't be afraid of it, but simply send love and acceptance and manifest something new, because the minute you let it go, new things are coming to your life, new people are coming, new connections and new money. And this is something that we all love and we all want. So please go for it and enjoy manifesting from this other place. Thank you.